Building a new set of arrows right at our place in Willow City here in Central Texas. We have a lot of heavy hogs, so we like to build a heavy arrow for good penetration, and that's just how we like to do it. It seems to work well for us. All of our shots are usually inside 30 yards. I know it's not the long distance shots, but they need to be right on these big hogs or it just doesn't work well and end up losing animals, which nobody wants. So let's just get into it. I'll show you how I do it. I know there's a lot of different ways. I follow some with the glues of people I like T-Bone. Using the Gorilla Glue because it expands on the inserts, and different ways of going about it. Come along and join me for the ride. Thank you. First off, I have cut everything 27 carbon to carbon. We're using a Maxima Red SD 300 spine, 11.9, I believe, grains an inch. So let's get them spinning, make sure they're spinning all right, and then we'll get them all weighed up shaft-wise. We'll weigh every individual component and then match them up so we can get our arrows all weighing about the same when we get to the end. They won't be exact, but if we can get them within a few grains of themselves, then I think we'll have a really good set. These Maxima Reds they usually seem to be pretty precise when they come out. Buying them bare shafts. They come with these inserts. We can weigh one of these up and see what they do. I don't use them very often. We'll get into that a little later on in the video, but I like to use the Ethics static inserts. They're 200 grains and I cut them down to 150. Let's see what these are. It's a 53.4 grain, so it's not heavy enough as it is for us, but I do like that insert. It's a pretty good looking insert. We'll get on, finish spinning, and we'll move on from there. This one seems to have a little wobble in its walk. A little more wobble compared to this. Pretty good. We got a pretty good amount of wobble in that one. We'll set that one aside and see if we can not tune it a little better or whatnot, but it was a little more wobbly than I like. Now that we got them all spun and figured out which ones are spinning pretty clean and which ones got a little wobble to them, we'll go ahead and weigh each individual shaft. And then we'll also take the nocks. And the SDs come with these little collars. They come with these little shaft collars on the end. I really like them. I don't know, they give the arrow a little flare and I think it gives it a little protection. So we'll weigh each of these. These are usually pretty consistent. And then we'll also weigh each individual knock to see what we come up with. So let's get them tore apart and we'll go from there. Now we'll just start weighing individual components and matching them all up from the heavy shaft to lighter knock, and try to keep this stuff as consistent as we can. Got 322.6 on the first one. Got 322.6 on the second one. Got 322.8. And we'll just keep going down through it and keeping them in line. Just found the first one that was 321.6, so it's a full grain off of basically the other 5. They're all 322.6 and 328.4. We're back to 322.4. Back to the 6s, 322.6. All right, so out of the 11 I have, I've already pre-built one to make sure the spine was good and working well with my new bow. Got a new RX-8 from Archery Country, pulling 73 pounds, 31.5-inch draw length. Just make sure it was flying clean, videoed it in slow-mo, and make sure it's spinning and twisting and coming out of there without any gnarly kicks, and just kind of hitting hard like I like it to. So all out of these 11, 9 of them are between 322.6 and 322.8. So pretty consistent on the cutting, and they've been cut and squared and all that. So now we'll add up the rest of the components and start matching it up. Go from there. These little collars are always usually really consistent, as I've done this in the past. They're usually right at 4.2, and that's what they're coming up again today. I've gone to a 5mm arrow instead of a 6mm, which I ran for years. Just old school and didn't know any better really, and just kind of got stuck with something that really worked. And yeah, just really enjoyed them for years, and so they work. So if it's not broke, why fix it? Kind of what my thought was. These are all coming up really consistent, so I won't waste any more time with that. They're all 4.2, so we can kind of just go consistent with that. I will not be using the nocks that they sent because I like using knotted locks because we do a lot of hog hunting at night and we need to be able to track that arrow if it doesn't go through, or, you know, need to find our stuff at night. So we shoot these cheap, I don't even know the name of them, but they seem to run really consistent. Man, it's just some cheap old stuff off Amazon, and I've shot the nocturnals and all kinds of stuff, and these seem to all weigh consistent and shoot well. So we shoot them because we go through a bunch of them. So you don't have to add magnets or anything like that. They got come with a little baby screwdriver, and has a little button. When your string hits it, it lights them up, and then you just put your knife in there in the field usually, and just click it back off, and that's it. So let's get these weighed and we'll go from there. All right, I got a 17.6. They do weigh a little bit more than the nocks that come with them. The nocks that come with them, or if anybody shooting lighted nocks know that, it's almost double. This is 8.4. So you get a little more weight in that back end. I find that these do pretty good because they don't have some have the little button on the side that you click up and down to turn them on and off, and I feel like that throws the weight of them off ever so slightly, having that button to throw them off. I know we're talking grains, but I think at the end of the day, if you're serious about archery, it adds up. You know, you can get into all kinds of different conversations and get on the internet and Reddit and YouTube, and I think it's everybody's personal preference on how they like to do it and how they go. I think as long as you're being humane to the animals and you're being true to the art of hunting, that's all you can do. I don't think it's a sport. Football, baseball, basketball, that's a sport. I think hunting and fishing is more of a lifestyle than it is a sport. So we can argue around and around about that. So out of the 10 that I measured, we were between 17.6 and 17.8 on all of them. So fairly consistent through there. You know, you're talking hundredths of a grain. So now we'll move on. We'll go ahead and match up our heaviest to our lightest. We'll just start from one end and we'll go back the other direction. So this is one of our lighter arrows. We'll go to the opposite side to get one of our heavier nocks. I did shoot that bow through paper today, and it was ramming bullet holes. So I was really happy to see that. Got arrows backwards here. It makes it look a little funny. We'll also do the same thing with the fletchings. You don't think the fletchings will add up and be much of a difference, but man, if you don't put 3 fletchings together, and it's kind of wild how something that all looks the same can be so much different in weight, you know. We'll still try to keep these in order, and then I'll go back through them and weigh them again and see how close we are and see what we did. Still grabbing the lightest arrow and the heaviest nock. One I'm grabbing off the left side and one I'm grabbing off the right side. Trying to keep them in order. And the boning Fletcher I use, it has a spot in the back where you click your nock into it, so it's good to have your nock on it instead of bare shaft sticking down through there. They seem to, if you pay attention, they seem to come through really nice. That one's a little stiff. And I don't want to be too girly about it or too vanity or anything, but I got red nocks on red arrows, and we'll be using red and white fletchings. I just think it just looks good with my rig. Looks good coming out of the bow and the whole nine. So next thing, we'll spin them all again. Go ahead and find that one wobbly one. See if we can't take care of it with twisting a knocker. Usually you can't, but I'm gonna go ahead and put a knock on it, a little mark on it with the Sharpie. I just won't trust it as much right out of the gate, just because it's not spinning good. You know, that doesn't mean I won't be flinging it at the arrows in the backyard and all that stuff, but that's just how it is. So let's spin them again and see what's what, and then we'll go ahead and weigh them again. And it's just something I enjoy, sitting here messing with these arrows. You know, if you're into archery and you shoot a lot of arrows and you stick them into the rocks and break off in hogs, and you know, stuff happens. You try to take care of them as best you can, but you shoot enough arrows like we do, you just lose arrows, you know. We used to go to, we still do, but when you go to Total Archery Challenge or something like that, and you're brand new archer and the whole thing's expensive, you know. They're like, do you golf? I was like, no, I don't golf because I do archery, you know. All this shit costs a lot of money. And you know, the first Total Archery Challenge we went to, you got these 3D targets stacked around all these rocks and all this stuff, and you got these $35 arrows, and you spent, you know, time going over the archery shop and learning all the stuff and doing it, and then, you know, you go over there and you bang one into a rock, which everybody's done, you know. We get better at shooting as we go, but you kind of get, everybody talks about target panic. Well, target panic happens at Total Archery Challenge when you got $30 arrows and you're worried about slinging it into the ravine, or a 100-yard shot out there at some little goat, that's stuck in the middle of the river. We're in Texas, so San Antonio, you hike your ass down this big old hill and shoot, and then they usually have a goat out in the middle of the river. So, you just can't worry about it anymore. You can worry about it, but it's just part of it. So anyhow, let's move on. I'm gamming. I don't make very many videos like this, so bear with me. I want to go through and measure them again and see how close we got. Yeah. I need one of those little arrow holders that you put on your scale that holds your arrows in place, but I manage. Okay, so they're all 11 within a grain of each other. The lightest one I have is 343.8. I have 3 of those. I have 4 of them at 344.4, and then I have 4 of them at 344.8. So all within a grain of each other, and all but 3 are within like 0.3, 0.4 of themselves, half a grain, which I can live with. Yeah, I can live with that. So next is kind of my most difficult thing. When I was shooting the 6mm, I love shooting these Ethics because they're these static inserts, and they are just solid to the bone. I feel like it makes the whole first 3 inches of that shaft just money. I've never had one snap off anywhere. Only problem I've had is when I've butted it in, hit something dead on solid like a rock or something like that, it'll shove it back in there, but that's asking a lot of a carbon arrow to take that amount of abuse. So those were with the 6mm. Now, since we dropped down to the 5 millimeters, we're still doing the Ethics static insert. And I'm taking 50 grains off, so they have these little lines in. So I go outside with my grinder and I cut 2 marks off, and that'll give me, that's 175, 150, and you can keep on going because it's 200. I do get a little extra 1/2 inch, and then it tapers up. I don't know what that measurement is to fit your broadheads and your field points. So I think it's a pretty slick deal. So now I'll go outside and grind all these down, come back in and measure them. This one takes a little bit of time because I should probably do it with a bandsaw or something, but I don't have a bandsaw. I just have a cutoff wheel. So I cut off wheel and then I flapper it till I get to that line. And then I come in here and weigh them and just kind of get them as close as I possibly can. And keeping them square so I don't have more on one side than the other. You know, just like you square off the end of your arrows, square off the end of your inserts. I'll be back in a little bit and we'll weigh them up and see how I did.